What's up, buddy? Are you watching the Rings of Power, the billion-dollar Amazon experiment that a lot of people are strangely hoping fails? I mean, I kind of get it. There's always the hubris of a billion, million, trillion-dollar company falling flat on their face. You kind of want to see it. You kind of like watching people with a bunch of money who think they know everything screwing it up. But we have to be fair to the show. Is it possible to spend $1 billion on a TV show and have it be good? That's very possible. It could happen. But as we've seen, I think there's some medium-sized problems with Rings of Power. Maybe some of the problems are big. None of the problems seem huge. None of the problems seem insurmountable. But I think the biggest problem, for me, is that this show is exhausting. Episode 3 is an hour and 5 minutes. It used to be back in the day, you could make a whole movie in an hour and 5 minutes. Here, it's just the plot is moving at such a glacial pace that the few instances where you're like, this is fun, this is exciting, is set in between endless plodding dialogue. And I'm a little worried for Amazon. Because here's the thing, I was thinking about this earlier. How many episodes do you get to hook an audience? And you don't get that many. A lot of people are going to watch 1, 2 episodes and then decide whether or not they're into it. Now, Amazon has an interesting thing because they released episodes 1 and 2 together as kind of like a double feature. So in a way, this is actually the second episode. It's like the first episode was a 2-parter. Now we have the second episode. And I don't know if it's going to grip people. Because frankly, I'm watching it and I'm going, I don't know if this show's for... I'm still not sure if this show's for me. And I'm honestly leaning towards no. Because it's just so goddamn slow. Like, pick up the pace, people. Now, the budget for the show is clearly showing. This is definitely a show which is spending its money on some pretty impressive visuals. Here we had this shot of, what's his name? Anodir, Arondir being dragged through the orc village, or whatever it is, the orc encampment tunnels where they're currently building something. I don't know if we know exactly what it is. And yes, it's very beautiful. Here we can see the light shining through the canopies. But that's kind of the big problem with the show, is that, yes, the visuals are beautiful, but is that enough to sustain a show? Just beautiful things. Here, where they sail into Numenor, I mean, I was blown away. I don't even know how they're getting some of these sets. I mean, is this all green screen? And if so, it's fantastic. I mean, look at all the actors in this scene. If they're filming all these guys, I don't know, did they construct a port? Where is this? This looks fantastic. But again, visuals alone are not going to hook an audience. I need a hook. It seems like they're getting towards one, but we're still taking so long to get there. Now, Galadriel and Halbrand are meeting with the queen of this city. It's a city where elves aren't allowed. And I think there's a very important thing I need to touch on. A lot of people are calling Galadriel a Mary Sue. I have to tell you this. You're completely wrong. 100%. The definition of a Mary Sue is a character who is not only, extremely powerful, as she obviously is, okay? But there is a good explanation for her power level. I mean, let's be real. She's centuries old. We can expect that she spent a lot of that time training for warfare. But a Mary Sue is also generally liked by the people around her. And as we see in this scene, like, she is kind of an idiot. She's terrible at diplomacy. She's terrible at winning people over. This is her major character flaw. She is not a Mary Sue. And what she needs to overcome is the fact that she's kind of, as I've said, she's kind of a bitch. Just having incredible powers does not make you a Mary Sue, as long as you have some essential character flaw. And her character flaw is obviously that she's a very, kind of crazy zealot who's just obsessed with revenge on Morgoth and Sauron and whatever else. So, not a Mary Sue. Stop saying that. You sound silly. Now, what was actually really good about this scene is that Halbrand is really establishing himself as a character. Probably the strongest character in the show right now. He's a bit of a thief, a bit of a miscreant, and of course, at the end of the episode, we find out he's a former king. which is very interesting. But what I like about this character is that he's the closest thing we have to an everyman in the show. Right now, everybody is kind of speaking in crazy storybook language, and they're all fanciful, magical people, and he's the most straightforward guy. I wish he, would drop some of the pleasantries and some of the regal language that he uses, but ultimately, he's the character I think audiences will identify with the most. And here's a great scene that, again, establishes Galadriel's flaw, that she is terrible at diplomacy and statesmanship, and this guy with the silver tongue manages to defuse what could have been a violent situation. Let's take a look.
Given this anything.
It'd be better if we...
Guards.
My friends, it seems to me that our leaving presents some complications. Perhaps it'd be better if we stayed long enough, good queen, to give you and your advisors adequate time to weigh our request. A few days, perhaps.
See, he's charming, he's charismatic, he's able to diffuse a situation, he's able to win people over. He is, the counterpart to Galadriel, where she's very cold-hearted and can't empathize with people and completely focused on her crazy revenge mission. He's like, listen, bitch, shut up. You're gonna get us in trouble. And is able to coerce people. And he has a 20 charisma stat, let's put it that way. And I find it very interesting. He's the best part of the show. Now, one problem I'm having with this show, too many characters. Okay, we meet the boat captain earlier who, saved Galadriel and Halbrand. Okay, that's fine. But do I really got to meet his kid, his 2 kids? There's all these long dialogues about his kid, isn't sure if he wants to be part of the sailing guild or whatever else. This was like 50 minutes into the episode. I'm begging them to just wrap it up. And this guy's got to be lecturing his kid about, you got to take the sailing test to become a great sailor like me. I was like, who cares? Oh my God. Save this plot line for another episode or just erase it entirely. I mean, there's too much stuffed into every episode. Just focus on the characters you already have. This is too much. Now, our good friend Anadir the elf has been captured by the orcs, and we have this scene where they give them a ration of water, and as the third man drinks it, an orc steps forward and slashes his throat. And this is the biggest problem I have with the show. It loves sniffing its own farts. And again, I've talked about that I'm getting a Zack Snyder vibe from the show. And as I've said, I love Zack Snyder's imagery. But he, again, is a director who loves sniffing his own farts. He draws things out way too much. He uses too much gratuitous slow motion. And I'm getting the exact same vibe from Lord of the Rings. I keep, checking the credits. I'm like, did Zack Snyder make this? Because it has the exact same problems his movies have. The pacing is off. The slow motion. Every scene needs to be a huge emotional epic. We don't even know who this guy is who got his throat cut. And he gets this big death scene with this swelling music. Listen to this. We have no idea who this guy is. Who cares? What is this? Brother, I will avenge thee. It's too much. This is ridiculous. Who is that guy? I don't care. This is a waste of my time. And there's so much of this that they could cut out and just get the show to where it needs to get to. Chop it up. It's an hour and 5 minutes. Cut half of this. Speed it up. Stop using slow-mo. Later, we get this ridiculous scene where we learn that Galadriel just loves riding friggin' horses. Watch this stupid crap.
Did you say ride?
Ride? Oh my God. All right, this is fine. The sweeping, overhead shot. Okay, you know what you do right here? Hard cut to them arriving at the fort. That's it. You don't need to... We get it. They're riding horses across a sweeping landscape, and then just hard cut, and they're there. Okay? But instead, look at this gratuitous nonsense. Just cut this. I don't need this. Oh my God. It's just a horse. Oh my God, dude. Again, this show is sniffing its own farts. Cut all that. All of that. That's like 3 minutes you could have cut to get the length of this episode down. It has nothing to do with anything. It's not like this is some big emotional moment in the show. It's literally she's just riding her horse to the next destination. Why did you need this? It's just the director being like, you know what? I shot all this footage and it's beautiful and I want to put every single scrap of footage in. No. One of the most important rules of editing, kill your babies. You might have some beautiful shots. They might be great. But if they destroyed the pacing of the movie or the TV show, cut them out. The most beautiful thing you can do as an editor is kill your children. And this guy just refuses. Every little piece of footage is a beautiful baby that he needs to waste our time with. Like, what is this nonsense? Okay, the Harfoots dancing through the forest. Who cares? Why does this need to be in slow motion? Why does this need to be in the show at all? Yes, it's beautifully lit and it looks good, but it's just, what is this show? Just a jerk-off session? Stop with the slow-mo. It's too much. Cut it up. You're not going to get any audiences to watch this because they're going to just get tired. Now, I'll say this. I really enjoyed the lore of the Harfoots. I find this actually a very strong part of the show. So the Harfoots, they're little midget people. Obviously, like a big dog comes along, could probably kill a dozen of them. So their thing is that they move from place to place according to the seasons. And, and they all have a big caravan of carts that they push along in a line. And they even have this little ceremony where they remember everybody who just got left behind in the caravan. Either they fell off the trail, they got taken in by wildebeests, or they just disappeared at the end of the caravan line. And as they say, we will wait for you. The idea that maybe those people who got lost along the caravan way will eventually find their way to camp. I don't know. Something about it felt like very good lore. Again, I'm not a Tolkien guy. I don't know if Tolkien put this in his books or something, but I thought it was very interesting and explains a lot of their culture. And it's obviously interesting that the dad of Nori has a broken foot, which is a huge problem if you're in a caravan that literally does not stop for anyone. It's like, that's the rules. We're going. We keep going towards our destination. We stop for no one. And this interesting ritual, the fact that he has a broken foot, and because of Nori's interactions that she's been hanging out with the giant, the Harfoots find out about it. They're very upset. Their caravan ends up last in line, their cart, which would be a death sentence for the father, except for the fact that the mysterious stranger giant shows up to help them push their cart. Excellent little plot point. I thought that was very well executed. And I honestly look forward to more Harfoot stuff. I think that, again, is a very strong point in the show. Now, finally, a flipping hour into the show, we start to get some action. It's kind of a too little, too late kind of thing. It looks cool. They're trying their best to drag the orcs out in the sunlight where they, get burned to death or whatever else. Look at that. This looks cool. I'm very, it looks good. But again, why did I have to wait a friggin' hour to get any action out of this show? My God. And then at the end of the episode, they say, bring him to Adar, do not kill him. And we get a look at who I assume is going to be the big bad of season 1. They hinted it might be Sauron. I don't think it is. Seems to be his own guy. But we'll see how that plays out. People are saying it looks like an elf. He definitely has the long hair. So some sort of fallen elf character here. I don't know. We're going to find out. It's intriguing. But ultimately, I have to wonder if the showrunners and the editors and the directors are going to figure out that this show is just too long. It's too long. It's too slow. Not every episode needs to show us a majestic city with slow pans over it and a slow motion horse ride and a slow motion battle. And just get to it, man. Just cut through all the nonsense. I think a good editor could have chopped this episode down to like 50 minutes. But as I was watching it, I found myself yawning. I found myself desperately begging. I'm like, please just end the episode. No more nonsense. So ultimately, you have a very beautiful show with a couple decent actors. I like Halbrand. I like the stuff with the Harfoots. It's kind of moving in an okay direction. But remember, they spent $1 billion on this show. It can't just be like a small little success, like a show. Yeah, I don't know. I watched that show. It's okay. No, they need like everybody in the world to watch this thing. In order to make their money back. They need you guys to be buying t-shirts and mugs and all sorts of nonsense to make a profit on this show. And I don't think they can do it. My honest prediction is that they're going to slash the budget of this show. I think it will keep going. I think it will find an audience. But I think ultimately they have to lose money on this. Am I crazy? It's too much money for not enough return, because they needed to hook people. These first 3 episodes, you needed to hook people. I don't think you've hooked people. You haven't even hooked me. I'm still on the fence. If this show starts going nowhere, if you keep exploring boring characters and keep rotting my brain with unnecessary slow motion sequences, I'm out of here. I don't have time for it. You need to cut the fat. You need to find out what works. And I don't know if they can. Haven't they already shot the whole season? Isn't it already edited? They can't really make changes now. And I don't know if they're going to find a way to make this show something people can, get into. Most people do not have time out of the week to watch an hour and 5-minute TV show. There's a lot of stuff you can do in an hour, okay? Why would you spend it watching a lady ride a horse? I don't get it. Anyway, guys, that is my review of Rings of Power, episode 3. I don't know. It's got some good things going for it. It's got some bad things going for it. But let me know in the comments, what did you think? Are you on the hook for this show? Are you going to keep watching it? Or ultimately, are you like me? You're feeling a little bored. You're starting to fall asleep. I don't know. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. And please, check out the mailing list for my comic book, Super Killer. The Kickstarter is going live soon, and you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be quite an adventure. I promise there's no slow motion horse riding. That was the most ridiculous, embarrassing scene. What a waste of my time. Oh my God.
Now, if you're like me, you've probably found yourself getting a bit tired of all these superhero movies. Sure, we occasionally get something good like Spider-Man, but we also get crap like Wonder Woman 1984, The Eternals, or that godforsaken Hellboy reboot. Point is, maybe you're getting tired of watching these checkbox diversity characters putting on silly costumes and fighting CGI aliens. Maybe you found yourself watching the latest round of Cape shit and thought, man, I wish some guy with a big gun would just show up and shoot all these motherfuckers in the head. Well, buddy, have I got the comic book for you. Super Killer is a man with a mission, and that mission is to shoot superheroes in the fucking head. Immortal alien gods? Bam, headshot. Adorable magical girls? Bam, headshot. Batman, you want him to kill Batman? No, we can't use Batman. DC Comics owns Batman. But here's a guy who looks kind of like Batman. Bang! Right in the fucking head. Super Killer is a hilarious dark comedy written by one of the greatest comedic talents of the 21st century. Me. I wrote it. It also features incredible artwork by Keter LeBeau, the most beautiful man in Mexico. Point is, this is going to be the greatest comic book ever written, but we can't make it without your help. Check the link in the description and sign up for our mailing list. That way, when our crowdfunding campaign goes live, you'll be among the first in line to get yourself a copy of this glorious blood-soaked comic book masterpiece. Super Killer Book 1. Because for humanity to live, the Superman must die.